Shutterstock.com. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER6. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/GameBreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello everybody and welcome to Legendary. I am Mike Shavden and coming up tonight we've got some crazy trinkets to look at. The PTR is up and the Siege of Orgrimmar is live, so it's open for testing. You better get your butts in there, but don't do it just yet. Hang on, wait, watch this show first. And the devs are hyping up for some PvP mastery, all that and more. But first, joining us from WoW Insider, Zam, and right here on Gamebreaker TV, it's the lovely Olivia D. Grace.
Hey now, hey. It was mystery, dude, not mastery. God.
Mastery? Did I say mastery?
Mystery, yes.
PvP, but PvP mastery sounds so much cooler.
All right then, it's PvP mastery. From this point forward, that's exactly what it is.
Yes. All right, let's talk about some PvP mastery. Little up. And this week, joining me in the Gamebreaker studio, co-host of Convert to Raid.
That's me.
I've
finally broken through my screen into the Gamebreaker studio, and apparently my voice has not caught up with me yet.
What? I can't hear that. I can't understand. You're
I've gone through the fourth wall into the studio. I can't believe it. And I brought Shaftnet treats. See?
Oh, the Starburst.
All the lovely Starburst. Look at that. Here you go, Mike.
Thanks! Show's gonna be on pause while I open this, so I'm just gonna also introduce. Joining us again, we are thrilled to have you back here. Joining us on the Foursquare, Method's main tank, Martin Miner, also known as Trekkie, not Squishy. My apologies, Trekkie. I did not mean to call you Squishy last week.
Took me a second to actually realize you were actually talking about me there, but yeah, chat room were quick to correct, you know.
They were so fast to correct me.
When Squishy killed Raden.
Yeah.
When Squishy got the world first Raden that time. No, Chapnet.
Here's what it is, and I can't really talk because I totally put that Starburst in my mouth. So we're gonna see how this goes. All right, first up.
I've got more for you if you're good.
Oh, this is going to be a great show.
I'm just letting you know.
Red Bull and Starburst all night long.
Only if he's good.
That's
Don't give him any sweets if he's not good.
No.
All right, so there it's gone. I can talk. Here we go. Ready? Show starts right now. First up this week, the PTR is up and running. We're a few patches in, and the new raid, Siege of Orgrimmar, is live and the testing is open. So first up, have any of you guys managed to jump onto the PTR and test out the new raid? And if you have, what are your impressions?
Trekkie, I think this is you, buddy.
Yeah, we've been on there. We've been on there for a bit. Sad part is a bit that the EU servers are not always coming up when the US servers are coming up on the PTR. So US skills, well, some US skills get to start earlier anyway. But we need to have backup characters in the US realms as well. But we've been in on most of them. All 4 bosses that have been tested so far. Some been somewhat buggy and somewhat have been actually pretty fine so far.
What's your impression been of the encounters?
I don't know. Some I think one at least of the bosses seems really simple, but it's supposed to be a starter boss. I think all bosses are pretty overwhelming when you pretty much have no clue more than what the dungeon journal says ability is supposed to be doing. But I think I like them so far. It's only 4 bosses, and we haven't seen the heroic versions of them yet. So 14 more bosses.
Yeah,
that could be a lot, though.
Yeah, I agree. I've been in, and I'm obviously very much more bad at raiding than Trekkie, obviously. But I've been in on all 4 of them as well. And the one that he's saying is easy is Immersius, which is the first boss in the raid. Yeah. And I mean, it's meant to be like the Genrock the Breaker. It's meant to be the first boss that you get to. And yeah, it's definitely straightforward. It really is definitely straightforward. Like, you've got the sort of don't stand in the bad and avoid the rotating beam of death, and don't stand in front of it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, they're really good fun, and they're quite. Definitely, I think the one that I found most overwhelming was the Korkron Dark Shaman, where you've got these 3 totems which summon all these abilities, and there's these ads everywhere, and it's kind of exciting. But I love PTR testing, so you go in there completely blind, and it's really good fun. But yeah, and I've actually been testing with Squishy. Not Trekkie.
Not Trekkie, just so you guys understand. There's a separation of the two.
Right. The 2 different people. But yeah, we've been testing it. It's been really good fun. The Korkron Dark Shaman was a really, really good fight. I keep seeing people, Trekkie, saying that you managed to pull Garrosh somehow. What happened? What went on there?
Well, for some reason, there's a few doors in the way, which you can completely ignore. But and then you can actually go down, see all of the space below Orgrimmar, and it's actually really, really big and overwhelming. But then for some reason there was a end boss down there as well. Testing like the shaman is the 6th, 7th boss, and for some reason Garrosh is live there as well. Awesome. So yeah, we pulled him a few times, and then Blizzard didn't like that much, so we couldn't do that anymore.
So it was your fault that the world server went down, basically, is what you're saying.
Could be.
Now, how do you guys think this is what we're experiencing right now is going to scale down in terms of the new system, Flex Rating, or even LFR?
I think it's really going to be interesting to see. Like, I thought this with the Throne of Thunder PTR stuff, how they were going to scale it down to LFR, and I was really surprised that they changed so little. Like, they changed almost, well, not absolutely nothing, but almost nothing, going from the sort of PTR stuff into LFR. And I was really surprised. I'm going to be really surprised if that's what happens with particularly the Korkron Dark Shaman. That's quite an intense encounter for LFR. Well, particularly with 25 people.
I'm just hoping that they don't change the mechanics. I mean, they're going to change, how hard things hit and how much you can hit the boss and, whatever. But hopefully they won't change the mechanics too much, because I really do think that with this new Flex Rating system, it could actually open up some really good doors for raiders that are beginning or want to learn a boss in kind of a little bit less of a stress-free environment, or a little bit more of a stress-free environment. So hopefully the mechanics stay roughly the same. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So actually, along with the raid opening up for testing, we're hearing about some of the new rewards that are coming out in the different tiers of rating. In Flex or above, players can actually earn the standard Glory of the Orgrimmar Raider achievement and the mount that goes along with it. Now, this no longer needs heroic boss kills, and it awards the, I'm going to butcher this, and you guys are all going to make fun of me, the Reigns of Galacras. Galacras?
I think it's all back of the throat. It's all Galacras. Galacras.
I think that's pretty accurate. Pretty
For
good,
normal mode raiders, there is...
Here, you get another Starburst. Here, buddy.
Yeah!
Nice work.
Wait, they're not a sponsor? For normal mode raiders, there is the ahead of the curve achievement for taking out Garrosh, and the cutting edge achievement for killing him in heroic mode. So both of these are actually going to require that you do it while it's still current, and both award you the Warwolf pet. So first off, do you guys think that this mysterious reward from Flex and above that we're like, do you think that it's going to be from Flex and above?
Oh, do you think that this is going to be the thing, the one thing? I don't know. I mean, I think that this could be one of the things. I think that there should be more than one thing. There should be more than one thing enticing people to do each of these different levels of content. And I think that these are nice starts, but they're not necessarily the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think sorry, go ahead, Martin.
I think there might be more to it as well. That the fact that there's obviously a lot of different guilds doing all of the bosses, and the biggest distinction I make is that Flex is going to be doable at the same time as normal and heroic. Because what we're going into right now is that people who are who want to kill the bosses, and then you have some people in that guild who want to do the achievement as well. So then you suddenly have to do kill the boss a harder way to get an achievement, or if you're killing it heroic every week, you have to do it even harder with the achievement as well. So with having that distinction, you can do both 10-man or a flex, and then your normal 10-man rating, you should be able to get both the achievement and obviously properly rated the same week. And then obviously I think the wolf is more of a cosmetic reward, but just to give you some incentive to actually do the normal race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually it's I believe it's actually a mount. The wolf is a mount. It's a bit of an interesting one because I went onto the PTR to check this out, because some of the websites which have been data mining these achievements are saying that you actually get the direwolf mount for both of the achievements, whilst the actual server, the actual Dungeon Journal on the server, is saying that no, you don't. You only get it for the normal mode achievement. So not entirely sure what's going on there, but it's kind of, I think what they were talking about was that what Ion Hazakostas was saying on the forums in a blue post was that basically the problem that they were seeing was that heroic raiders who want to do heroic raiding, that's their main thing, were unable to do the achievements within the heroic raiding. And like the achievements were almost impossible. And he gave an example of an achievement from 5.0, 5.1, which was something about taking an arrow to the face, which was apparently like almost impossible to do in heroic. So that then these guilds who were doing heroic raiding had to take the step back down to normal to do achievement runs once they cleared through heroic. And this was just to remove the necessity to do that. So those guys can do heroic and then do the achievements in flex without disrupting their raid schedule and having to make the call between gearing people up and doing achievement runs. So that seems to be the main sort of thing. And no, I don't think it's the mysterious reward, because they specifically said that it was something new, and this isn't new. Mounts right. Aren't new. Like, you know, mounts have been a thing that's been given out with achievements forever. So I don't think it's that.
What I also found very interesting was the achievement is actually specifying if it's 10-man or 25-man as well. If you kill Garrosh in 10-man or 25-man, and that's something we haven't seen since ICC, I guess it is.
Yeah, that's true, actually. So maybe there's going to be... Do you reckon this means there's going to be more of a distinction there between the 10s and 25s?
I honestly hope so. I think the right approach would be to make them... I mean, so they're similar. You don't get more achievement. I mean, you don't get a new achievement for killing a 25-man afterwards, but you should get the achievement for the size you kill it the first time. Because otherwise you're gonna run into more issues of people that need to go for 25-man as well. But there should definitely be a distinction between 10-man and 25-man. That way, it's not the same fight.
What about the fact that it kind of sounds like there's almost a whole nother mount for even heroic raiders, which is also time limited, right?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because Ian Hazakostas was sort of talking about this Warwolf thing and then saying there's a whole other mount that drops off of heroic Garrosh, with a 100% drop rate, dropping several in 25-man mode. So
that's something we've seen quite a few times though. That's the same with the mount from Ragnaros. Dragon's Soul has some mount as well. No one cared about. But the Fire Lord mount, the Fire Phoenix, was obviously very sought after because it looked really, really good. And I think it's a good point there as well that they're gonna give it more than one for 25-man raiders, because otherwise if you just wanna get the mount, you run 2 10-mans instead if able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Why aren't we seeing Mike Shaffnet? I'm wondering what's going on.
I don't know.
Now.
I was about to go, but you looked like you wanted to talk. I was gonna let you go, but nope, we're moving on.
Sure.
So the last thing for the Siege of Orgrimmar, before we move on from this topic, is there have been some really crazy trinkets that have been data mined from the latest PTR build. Of course, data mining, isn't always 100% serious or even final, but the procs on these are just absolutely insane. So, for example, one of the healing trinkets reduces the cooldown of 6 of your major abilities by 39%, as well as giving you an intellect proc. That's probably one of the most powerful trinkets I think we've seen ever implemented.
Yeah. I mean, when I take a look at that and I see that, I'm like thinking tranquility every less than 2 minutes. I mean, that's craziness right there. I mean, being able to heal that hard for an entire group, that's going to be really nuts if that actually comes about.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I'm trying to think, like, my raiding main is a restoration shaman, so I'm sort of thinking, well, I've got my spirit link totem, I've got my my healing tide totem, I've got my ascendants, I've got some elementals. I'm trying to think of 6 things that are all going to have like the cooldown dropped by 39%. That's insane. Like, right. What?
Yep. It's.
I think that number might be a placeholder number, to be honest, because it's so freaking strong.
I think it's got to be.
I think some other sources gave it like the readiness proc is around 17% as well, which I think could be more accurate, to be honest, because otherwise they just seem really, really strong. But at the same time, I think all of those trinkets that have the 39% thingy doesn't not have a static item or static stat. All of them have some kind of proc or some kind of use effect, which I think is a really good design. Trinket design basically for them, instead of just putting giving them a stat stick. They should be something special or something that does something special.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even just, healer trinkets. It's everything across the board. DPS are getting really, interesting kind of ones. Tanks are getting interesting kind of ones. Why do you think that they kind of moved away from the more specific procs of just straight crit or straight mastery?
Well, the current ones we have in Throne of Thunder are pretty horrible because they're really, really strong trinkets, and then they have a very irregular proc. So basically, if you want to do like a max DPS or whatever, you pretty much just sit around, do nothing, or like generate your resources, and then when they proc, you go all out. And that's pretty bad design in my opinion, but that's what they want, and I just don't think it's been very successful this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these, obviously, like with the last tier of the expansion as well, presuming that this is the last tier of the expansion because we've really had nothing to indicate otherwise, and these are the ones where they go a bit crazy. These are the ones where they're like, right, we're just going to do something completely nuts here. And but I was kind of like, I think thinking about these sort of trinkets, like compared to, I was thinking of things like, Cunning of the Cruel, where you had this very, very, very specific proc that, fires out some shadow bolts. And that was kind of, I don't know, I maybe found that more interesting. I find this a little bit, and I'm sure, like, from a sort of hardcore raiders perspective, it's much better. But I find these ones a little bit lazy almost. They're just like, well, we could do the shadow bolts thing again.
It's not laziness. It's not laziness. It's, as we learned, was it last week? It's homogenized. So remember that it's all homogenized for your taste in trinkets. There we go. So everybody can be the same.
I really like this design of the trinkets, mainly because otherwise people are just going to go for, like, we see that issue a lot now in LFR and all that stuff. People just go for the highest item level item, and that doesn't have to be better or anything. They just go for it because it has a higher number on it. And I think this one is suddenly your character is going to be weaker if you look at the character sheet or on armor or whatever. But with that one in combat, suddenly you're actually a lot more effective, and I really like that kind of idea that you look stronger, weaker, but it actually is you're stronger with it.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And I suppose I'm wondering whether these sorts of trinkets, like, again, I guess Trekkie, like from the super hardcore perspective, does this not mean that you guys are going to be grinding these out through LFR through Flex, like looking at these trinkets, if they go if they go live with these, if these aren't just placeholder numbers, and I kind of think, I kind of feel that they're too strong. Like you guys are going to be absolutely grinding the heck out of these, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In summary, yep.
I don't think it's just him. I think it's going to be everybody with a normal or heroic team. It doesn't really matter. You're going to be farming this in every single raid that you possibly can. LFR, Flex, normals, heroics. It doesn't matter. This is pretty big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, it makes me wonder whether they should, I don't know, like, could they exclude these trinkets from LFR and Flex? Well, maybe not Flex. Well, exclude them from LFR to remove the incentive to run LFR and Flex and another one. Well, but again, not necessarily the world first guys, but everyone else.
Then when you're doing those as a raider who is raiding a bit more casual, then you're going to do LFR, and then suddenly the tricky drops, and it's like, if it's not good enough, I mean, you're going to use it. So I think that the proc chance is very likely to be different or the reduction, whatever percentages would be different on like LFR has 32 and then Flex has 38, whatever. Something like that, because then it would be stronger and stronger. But it's also going to depend if we want the trinkets or not. It's going to depend on is Flex and LFR going to be available at the first week or not.
Sure.
Because if it's not, well, then we can't do much. We're going to kill the content before
I don't
access them.
Well, I don't think LFR is going to be available right away. I mean, LFR should be available. I think last time around it was 2 or 3 weeks after the first normals were out, and they were saying that LFR is actually going to be going at a slower pace than LFR as far as releases go. So we should be seeing Flex rating, people rating the heck out of that, really, and then slowly going through LFR as well, trying to pick up. And the trinket isn't going to drop until, the last few bosses anyway, right? Or probably just Garage. So either way, it's only going to be farmed if you still need it. And I think that that trinket, look the way it is right now, I want it. I want it. I want it right now.
Obviously, like there's like the guys like Trekkie who are, going in and sort of farming this in order to get the world first. Like, you guys are a relatively small percentage of the total population of the World of Warcraft. Relatively small. Like, probably less than 10%. Less than 1, less than 0.1, less than 0.01%. So, but there's a big group of people who are looking to be, top 100, top 50 on their server, who still consider themselves hardcore enough to be like, I'm going to farm these trinkets without actually being in that group who are like, oh, well, it's not really relevant to me unless I can get it before the heroic race is over. I mean, also, we've had heroic races now which are lasting longer. I mean, whether it would last long enough, because the impression I get is they're going to delay LFR a week behind Flex. So I think Flex is going to take LFR's place, and then it's going to be pushed out, LFR's going to be pushed out another week further along. So it's actually going to be quite some time, and it's possible that the heroic race will be over before you can get to these trinkets even.
Right.
But I do think that for those people who fall into the not Trekkie group that are just a little bit further down the scale from there, who are, the sort of the hardcore but not top 10 guilds, top 2 guilds, they're going to be farming them.
Yeah, I would say it's more of a problem for them than it's going to be for us. Because for us, it's going to be, okay, it doesn't drop the first week in normal modes, and they're like, oh shit, okay, well, I'm going to try. I mean, the problem is then if they're so good that an alt warlock which has the trinket is out DPSing a main warlock who was unlucky with getting it, and then he's going to be so far behind that then we're going to go into really awkward situations again. But yeah, I hope coins work.
Trinkets always bring up awkward situations.
Yeah,
always do.
Weapons as well.
If somebody doesn't get it, then or like a weapon or something like that. If somebody doesn't get it, then they're screwed. So it's just it's all very awkward, and the raid gets quiet and nervous.
Suddenly, roles are really, really important.
Right.
We're playing golf rules, right? Golf rules. Roll a 1. I get it.
Closest to a 1.
All right, so next up this week, the data miners have been added again, and this time they have actually dug up the next stage in the legendary quest.
Yeah.
That moment everybody's been waiting for. I'm gonna finally get my weapon, right? Nope. Nope, we're not getting weapons this patch because it's still a cloak. That's right, a cloak. You guys got this. Okay, so basically it's going to be turned into a slightly better cloak than what we got in 5.4. That's pretty legendary. Am I right? Yeah? No? All right. Fear not, though. Fear not, because it's not the end of the road just yet. Data miners have also discovered that there's a follow-up quest once you've killed Garrosh. So, a cloak. I don't know. It's guys, is that a little disappointing? Like, it was kind of cool. Like, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I get to enhance my weapon. Okay, cool. I get a meta gem. Okay, all right. I get a cloak. This better have something awesome at the end of it. I know this isn't the end of it, but now I'm just upgrading my cloak again.
Yep.
Give me something new.
Tough,
I guess. Tough love.
Yep, exactly. You're not gonna get it. Not for now, at least. Or you know, there's always some mystery behind it, right? So we don't know exactly what's behind the next curtain. But apparently, this curtain is a cloak. so
This curtain both is a cloak.
This curtain actually
and it
is
has
a
another
cloak.
We're gonna tear off part of the curtain.
Right,
and then give it to you as a cloak.
And then we'll reveal what's behind the curtain later. So yeah, that's
It'll
fine.
probably be another cloak.
It'll be another cloak behind it. Yes.
Which is marginally better than cloaks 1 and 2.
You're gonna put on a sticker on your current cloak, and
Yeah, exactly.
so neat. 650, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like, because I don't know, I was reading an article, like obviously people who watch this show regularly will know that I haven't done the legendary quest line. It's not really my thing. But I was reading an article on how to do the legendary quest line because I was looking at this data mined information to write the show and thinking, wait a minute, this is the one that's in 5.3. And there's like, no, it's another one to get a slightly better cloak. And it's just like the guy who wrote the article I was reading put at the end, I really hope we get something good next time. It's like, yeah, guess what? A cloak. It's still a cloak. You get to take your cloak and turn it into a cloak. It's like,
So, I mean,
so disappointing.
But here's the question, and I think a cloak is the wrong answer, but do you think at the end of this they're going to give up a weapon at all? You know, maybe they just can't really do it because it's a little too hard to give a weapon that's accessible to all the different classes and have it still feel legendary. I'm not saying maybe don't give a great item, something that everybody worked all expansion long to get. It has to be awesome, but just because in the past legendaries have been defined as weapons, maybe it's not going to be a weapon this time around. Any
I
thoughts?
think, yeah. Well, haven't they pretty much confirmed that the cloak upgrade is gonna be a legendary? I mean, it's gonna probably be orange with a legendary and with a proc effect as well.
Yeah, but it's still a cloak. It can be orange.
They can't make weapons for everyone that everyone can have. And
Why not?
That's useful.
They already do that for quest rewards. Why can't they do that for this?
This is
Because then they have to design
the
an epic
people's
one.
legendary. This is the people's legendary. We've talked about this. We got to have something for everybody, for the peoples out there. So cloaks for everyone.
Because cloaks, it's just like it seems to be. Like, okay, again, I'm saying this. I haven't done it at all. But the people who have been doing it, there's a lot of effort that's gone into that. Like, it's not just you sort of rocked up one day with a few valor points and a couple of drops off a boss, and we're like, oh, look, a cloak, awesome. It just doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm being completely unreasonable, but a cloak just doesn't feel exciting. I don't know, like. It just, I understand the argument that weapons would be really hard because you've got all these different people who want all these different weapons, and you know, if you want to give a legendary to every single player in the game, it's much easier to do it with a cloak or a hat, or you know, a cloak is the easiest thing of all because it's the same for every class. Like, you know, you don't wear a plate cloak. And
well, it's different. Still four versions of them.
But you know, yeah, but you know, it's not like, you know, you've got to have a plate one with all the intellect on it, but you've got to have a plate one with tanking stats and a plate one with the etc. etc. But it just feels like not very legendary.
Well, the proc is very legendary, in my opinion, at least.
I get that's the one thing you got to think of legendaries. I think beyond like being just like this big silhouetted item. We don't even call it a weapon. You got to think. I think almost the silhouette is I think what you're going for, Olivia. But I think what Trekkie brings up is what makes a legendary is the buffs and the stats and the on proc effects and the really cool stuff that always came with having a legendary.
Yeah, when you have the legendary cloak, I mean, if it procs, you're gonna feel so much stronger wearing that cloak and going to raids with it, and that's what you've been doing to get the cloak in the first place.
Let me break it down for you this way. Who do you like better? Do you like young Elvis better, or do you like old Elvis better? Old Elvis was more legendary because he had a cloak. That's all I'm saying.
I would expect that from me, but not you, Pat.
I think this cloak had better freaking catch on fire when this thing procs. Like it had better like flash with like a disco ball and some kind of firework display or an explosion or something really awesome to make up for the fact that it's a cloak.
Yeah, because 25-man raiders don't need that many FPS.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It just feels to me. It just feels like it should be something cooler. And again, this is just me. Like Trekkie's being very sensible and talking about it from a very sensible, serious, mathematically focused, heroic raiding, hardcore progression raiding perspective. And I'm like, no, this is rubbish. I want something cooler.
Right.
Does it seem off-putting to any of you guys that we've been working for this awesome weapon, but if this additional chain doesn't come until after we've killed Garrosh, does it feel kind of weird that we've been working this whole expansion to get a legendary weapon and then get it after the expansion's over? Or do you feel like that your legendary is the culmination of what you've accomplished in the entire expansion? Do you look at it that way?
That depends on how much you have to do in Siege of Orgrimmar to actually get it. If you just have to kill him on normal mode, LFR, anything like that, you can still use it for the rest of your raiding. If you need to kill all the bosses and you have to wait for Titan Runestones to drop that, yeah, if you're unlucky, you get none for 3 weeks. Then yeah, it's like a lot of people aren't even getting these cloaks before their progress is over. And there's not really much point having a cloak when progress is over either.
But
so I hope it's really, really easy.
We saw all of this before with other legendary quests. I mean, where you actually went through and maybe it was a collection quest or something like that, but you went through and most of the time you ended up killing the boss before you actually got your legendary, or you at least had the chance to for a lot of folk. So this isn't anything new. It's just I think that when you work throughout the entire expansion for one piece, for one legendary piece, throughout the entire expansion you've been working for this, it really feels weird to me to not get it to fight the last boss of the expansion. That feels a little odd to me. But I think that, again, yeah, like what you were saying, if it's a drop thing or, if you can use it in LFR and use that version or whatever, then I guess that kind of, makes it a little bit better. But still, it's kind of weird for me.
Yeah.
This time around.
I guess, I suppose if you can kill it on LFR, then most people, would you guys be surprised if you could get the thing for killing it on LFR? Actually, no, I don't think that would be surprising thinking about it. But if you can kill it on LFR and then get it like that, I guess that's okay. But again, it doesn't feel
it still feels weird, though, right? I mean, it still feels a little strange because we've been working for how long has it been now? Oh yeah, it's been a very, very long time. So hopefully we can get this thing. I don't know. Yeah, it just feels a little strange.
We're still using some parts for progress that we've collected over the time. We're using the weapon enchant, we're using the meta gem, we're using the 608 cloak. And I do agree with you there but it's always been the case this expansion as well, that the legendary thing we're gathering has been out, we've already completed everything when we get it. And that's been the case every legendary, like you mentioned before, Pat, that when you actually have gotten through the time and get the legendary, content is pretty much over, and you use it for the next content.
Yep.
Yeah, it just feels weird, like that. Particularly if you can get it from LFR, then I guess that's fine. But it's just it feels odd to me that you have to kill Garrosh and then go and take it, because it's going to be interesting to see how they do it with the next expansion. Like, will this legendary, whatever it turns out to be actually useful for the next expansion, or is it going to be something where you level up 5 levels and replace it immediately? Because if so, then that's kind of not that great.
Yeah.
You know what they should do for, you know, they're going to make us wear cloaks. If they want to come up with really awesome art assets for it, they can head on over to Shutterstock.com.
Oh, look at that!
And I mean, come on, look at this, look at this, look at this tuxedo mask cloak.
I love it.
I mean, come on, that'd be so awesome. Wouldn't Olivia? Wouldn't you? That would be a legendary cloak, if I might say so myself.
All right, okay. If they actually did that, I'd be down with it.
I mean, or if Blizzard wanted to go the other route, if they head on over to Shutterstock.com and we just type in weapons, bam! There's a whole bunch of weapons here. Look, chibi weapons.
Don't look very legendary.
Chibi legendary weapons.
No, but I still want one.
They're not legendary weapons.
I want one.
I mean, we could just go on for days if we go over to Shutterstock.com. They've got a whole bunch of images, vectors, photos. Guys, it's an amazing, amazing service, and we're very, very happy to have them on as a sponsor.
That one's the proc. That one you just went to. That should be the proc.
Oh, there.
Boom! That should be the proc. That should be what the proc looks like. Done.
There you go, Blizzard. Shutterstock.com. They can provide it for you. And anyone else who might need some art assets, all you guys got to do is head on over to Shutterstock.com. Use the promo code GameBreaker6, and you're actually going to get 30% off. It's an amazing, amazing tool that if you at all are in the media field today, you want to use. It's really, really simple. You find the images you want. Once you have an account, you just sign in and click download, and you're good to go. Guys, if you have not checked it out, building a website, you need art, pictures, anything, check out Shutterstock.com. It's an amazing, amazing offer. Remember to use the promo code GameBreaker6. All right, so let's move on here to the last little bit of PvE news that we have. There's been one little item that's been data mined that's actually really interesting. The Drums of Rage. They're a crafted leatherworking item that has basically allowed you to have heroism without a mage, shaman, or hunter. It's a pretty good necessity. We were kind of talking about this last week about how classes are kind of having signature abilities that are taken away from them. Do you think that this is another example of the same thing?
Well, we had different drums in Wrath. Remember, for different buffs that we could hand out in a raid situation. So I don't. This is nothing new, particularly. This one thing, and by the way, it's a hunter it's a beast mastery hunter with a core hound pet, I believe. So I mean, it's like it's very specific, narrow focus for the ones that can actually give that buff for hunters. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility because Olivia, not everybody wants a shaman in their group or can afford to pay one like you. So this gives you another opportunity to still be able to get that and without actually having to have those different classes in there, which is I mean, it's just a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's just like it's a bit different to a buff though, like the drums of Forgotten Kings. That is the thing that gives you the Mark of the Wild or the Paladin Blessing of Kings. Like that's just a buff. It feels different to me because this is an ability. Like it's again, maybe it's because I'm being defensive because I do play a shaman.
But what happens when those abilities become pivotal to? I mean, Trekkie, you guys, and not that you guys run into this issue, but I guarantee you wouldn't create a raid if your group didn't have heroism. You would absolutely want it there, and if for whatever reason, I get it, you don't have this problem at the top of the top because everybody wants to come, so you can find whoever you want. But in a situation like that, if you absolutely need it and you have no player who has access to it, you wouldn't raid if you didn't have it.
Pretty much, yeah. But we also 25-man guilds, so it's really easy to have like a mage or someone who can get it at least. You run into these issues a lot more in 10-man, and especially 5-man's challenge modes without someone who can use heroism is there's a big difference there, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think the drums, when they were introduced, they were a slightly inferior version of the real buffs, so that you would still get a little bit of benefit from bringing the right class. But Blizzard has always been saying that lately that you want to bring the player and not the class. That said, I don't think leatherworking is that common of a profession, though.
Do you think that's what it could be? Is just the fact that leatherworking was so unattractive to raiders in terms of what it brought and everything that it brought to the table, that this is their way of trying to boost up leatherworking as a profession?
Not really. This depends. There's also a small chance that it might not even actually be bind on pickup. So the leatherwork, you have to be a leatherworker to use them. Because that sort of defeats the purpose as well. They want the whole raids, they want everyone to be able to use these. If you do not have a mage, or you might not want to bring in the bad shaman you have in your guild when you have someone else who can do it, basically.
Hey!
Well,
if I was in your guild, I would be the bad shaman. If I was in Method, I'd be the worst shaman in the entire guild. So, actually, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this ability is expected. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think every group expects to have this in there. So, again, it's just a little bit more flexibility. I don't think that they're really trying to say too much with this particular thing. It's just, hey, now you can form those weird groups and not have a shaman or a mage. And yes, it's shaman, not shaman.
What is this shaman?
Just like it's math, not maths.
Oh, come on now. And actually, someone in chat room just said that it is 25%, but actually if you have a little look at the tooltip on everything that's been data mined for it so far, it is saying 30%. So it does seem to be
Blue Post confirmed it instead as well. That it's supposed to be 25. So I don't know, but that in my opinion is a good way to solve it, because I would say that you want the version, you like Pat said, it's pretty much expected to have a Bloodlust or Heroism in your raid group, just like you want attack power or just stamina. So yeah, give him a little bit less effective version, but so you still have something to bring.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a good.
Makes me wonder what they're going to do next. Like, are they going to have every single like drums of mind quickening, drums of grace of air?
Yes,
you're going to be able to bring literally everything with some kind of.
Those are not raid buffs; those are personal buffs.
Yeah, but then so's the Blessing of Kings, Mark of the Wild, and they have a scroll for power of fortitude for the stand buff.
I don't know. I think. Well, it's something that I think can go in both ways, because it's like
they're going to start doing more.
I agree with Trekkie, because those are abilities that it's not like. That would be like saying I should be able to Arcane Blast as a Feral Druid, so give me a drum that lets me Arcane Blast.
Yeah.
They're
Anyway,
so useful. You should always have them in your raid.
It's true. It's true.
You shouldn't do a raid without those buffs. More drums, man. Drums with Hellstones.
Let's just let every single ability in the game get put to leatherworking, and you can choose your own rotation of whatever you want to do.
And I think Warlock Portals is the next step. That's the one that I want, Olivia.
Drums
That's the
of
one
Demonic
that I want.
Gateway.
That's right.
All right, let's move on to some PvP news. We got a couple things to cover here, but we're going to go over it briefly. And I do mean briefly because we're going to touch back on a topic that we talked about last week and the week before. And Olivia and I are going to fight even more. So let's just jump in and talk about it. The arena tiebreak system here. People are obviously getting really, really vocal about this. There have been a couple of blue posts from community managers. One from, why do we do names like this? Just rude. Tyapsalum.
Sure.
Not even close.
Yeah, really.
And there's one guy called Lower.
Larry. It's Larry.
All right. Tyapsalum and Larry, they had some posts that they were kind of trying to attempt to address some players and concerns. So first up, it's not surprising that players have been freaking out and are actually worried about it. I mean, Liv, you and I were back and forth, couldn't decide whether this was going to be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think there's some really valid, concerns coming up as well. Like things like one of the particular ones on the EU thread, which Tapesalum responded to, Tapesalum, by the way.
Tapesalum.
he was saying that one of the things that people were saying was, well, okay, what happens if, because, okay, so people who don't know what it is, if you have if you are the team with the fewer people alive at the point when it gets to the timer, or you are the team who was brought lowest in health, then you will lose. Basically, once the timer kicks in at 15 minutes, your opponents will be given a buff, which will allow them to effectively one-shot you, and you will lose the match. But what they were saying was, so Team A is taking on Team B, and Team A gets Team B's mage to 10% 6 times through the match. Team B gets Team A's mage to 2% once. So if you base it purely on the system as it stands at the moment, then Team B would win, because they got that mage lower than the 10%, which Team A got that mage to repeatedly. So to me, that's kind of quite a valid concern. Like, to me, it seems that the team that got the mage down to 10% 6 times should somehow have a better chance of winning than the team that got the mage to 2% once.
I mean, those are some pretty valid concerns across the board. There's so many bylines to dictating who should win and who shouldn't. What do you think might be the best way out of this complication? Obviously, they want to implement something. This might not be the perfect solution, but what do you think that they could do to kind of do this, but fix a little bit?
Well, this is a difficult discussion, and I see like people in chat room already saying, "Oh yeah, well, most damage done would be fairer," but you can't base it off that, because you've got to allow for different comps. You've got to sort of say, oh well, like in 3v3, a dot class, because they can multi-dot, is going to put out much higher damage, like net damage overall, than burst classes, because they'll do tons of DPS, no DPS, tons of DPS, no DPS. And you've got to allow for healer comps as well. A healer comp is going to be putting out less raw damage than a 3 DPS comp. And obviously, those are rarer as you go higher up the charts. But nonetheless, this system isn't just applicable at 2200 and above. It's applicable all the way through. And I mean, the question is, what do you do? And it's like, maybe then it's a third thing of the most damage done. And that's still unfair. I mean, I find it really hard. Like, I'm really struggling to work out a solution for this.
I think anything that you do is going to be completely unfair to somebody. I mean, really, I think that no matter what, I think people's feelings are going to get hurt. But if you want to end a match and you want to end it decisively, you got to figure out something very, very simple, easy to understand for everybody, and just say, this is what it is, and try it. And if there are still some concerns, and even the developers have concerns, then they can change it at that point. But I think, you need to go through some testing and you need to figure it out. But if the biggest concern is that matches are ending in ties, which means that people lose rating, that's not good either. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Just make ties not lose rating?
Well, no, but then you just get people. We said we weren't going to have an argument. Don't make me have an argument with you.
No, it doesn't even matter. It is a problem if people turtle and they lose rating because of it. But if people turtle and you just don't lose rating, that would be fine. That'd be fine. I'm sorry that I'm one person. I'm sorry that I'm one person and I can stay alive against your 2. That doesn't mean I should lose rating. Why don't we just both walk away with nothing?
I'm going to come to California and kick you in the shins.
Wait, I can do it for you. I can do it for you.
No, throw me Starburst. I want Starburst.
Kick him.
Wait, you want one of these?
Yeah.
Be good. Be good. Be nice to Olivia.
You can't do that. You can't do it. If people will just have no motivation to not turtle. It's like, oh look, I lost my DPS. I'm just gonna. Oh, okay, so I can lose no rating. I'm just gonna turtle around this arena. Done. Fine.
Right.
It's just people are just gonna do it more and more and more. It's not gonna work like perfect.
We're going to have to agree to disagree and move on before there's a physical fight.
Wow.
There have been some interesting changes to PvP trinkets that have been data mined. Basically, the long and short of it is that using 2 PvP trinkets is going to give you a set bonus of 10% reduced incoming damage. These, Holinka has actually clarified, aren't just the 2 that have actually been found, but all of the PvP trinkets you can get already. They'll all have this set bonus that's attached to them. So first up, they never change up PvP set bonuses, right? So why are they doing this?
It's got to be to try to make PvP trinkets better than PvE ones. That's
in PvP situations?
In PvP situations, sorry. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah. But, so when you're wearing your PvP gear, it's got to be to try to do that. And they've actually, Helinka has actually specifically tweeted as well that the buff will not be applicable outside of PvP situations. Whether that means it's active in world PvP, I'm not sure. But it's going to be interesting. And it's particularly going to be interesting with these 39% on the everything. If that number isn't just a placeholder and it's actually 3.9%, if it wasn't just a decimal point there. I don't know. Would you really take a 10% damage absorb over 39% reduced cooldown time on 6 of your major abilities? I'm not entirely sure about that.
Right. That'd be a
Trekkie's
tough one.
doing maths. I can see the maths.
Trekkie's brain. I don't know.
I don't PvP at all, so I have no clue. But the trinkets from the raid is basically gonna make you be able to burst more often, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make you burst more stronger or anything. It's gonna make you burst more often. So it's basically what I wanted to put in instead. Otherwise, 10% damage would have been nice. Otherwise, for tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly, Sora's ears perk up. It's like, oh, I have to do some PvP to get those 10% damage reduction trinkets. No, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I am highly, particularly if those trinkets turn out to be a thing, I am highly skeptical about this.
That'd be interesting.
This is my skeptical face.
Wait,
I normally reserve it for you, Mike.
We saying that we're gonna make PvPers number crunch here to the level of what PvEers do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good enough in PvP that I've never taken the time to PvP number crunch. that could be my own issue.
There are people who do it.
All right, so last up here, it's just the other week that we were discussing how Blizzard has really been careful about overhyping things. You gotta have, some sort of restraint, because then what happens when people think that LF or flex rating isn't the best feature that you integrated? Am I right?
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
Blow it out of proportion. Those video podcasters just get that sort of stuff and just run with it, and it gets a little bit crazy.
They are all just the worst kind of people.
Those guys. They are the
Man.
worst. Those guys, honestly.
Well,
Terrible.
They've been at it again. They couldn't keep their mouth shut. Both Helinka and Ghostcrawler have been tweeting about exciting PvP work being done. And arenas are actually not available on the PTR right now. So, what do you guys think is going on? Here we go. Let's just start this train going down the wildest thing possible. Olivia, what do you think is going on?
I think that when I saw arenas weren't available, I was like, what's happening here? This is weird. And my first thought was spectator mode. I was like,
oh,
you didn't.
You said
just.
Why did you say that?
Now we're not gonna get it.
Right.
By the way, they're so not doing that. There's no way they're doing that. Just spoiler, plot twist. It's not that.
Well, you know what? None of these for you. That's all I'm saying.
They're all mine. He's on my team now.
He's on Team Shaftnet now. I don't know what they're doing. It's so, because this is the thing. This is why they can't do. They keep doing it because we love it, but this is why they shouldn't do it. Is because people see this stuff and they don't think, oh, it's probably a really mundane change, like they're changing the way the doors open. Like that, it's going to be something really mundane and boring. And because they do this, we're all like, it's gonna be spectator mode. It's gonna be explosions. It's gonna be something crazy and fun and exciting and amazing. And
I mean, this really could just be
nothing.
the changes that to a couple of the arenas that we've been talking about in the past, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they changed Dalaran sewers to add some more steps on the corners, to make it less difficult to get back up if you got blown off or fell off. And they said already that they want to do the same to Blaze Edge. So it could just be that. It could just be that. But then if it's that, why didn't they take just that one out? Why have they taken all of them out?
Because they did that with
bigger.
Ring of Valor, the one that has the elevators going up. Yeah.
Yeah, they just took one out.
You know, I saw that arenas were out, and I went, oh. And then I
continued to move on.
Carried on with my life.
Trekkie, I'm sure you
feel
kind
like
of
that's Trekkie's response too. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know.
Right? Yeah. I didn't even know that they were out. That's fine. That's okay.
What else do you think of this could be though? There's some people that are maybe speculate that skirmishes are coming back in. That would make a lot of people happy if they were to reintegrate Yeah, that happy.
Yeah, that happy.
That
would make. Oh my god, that's what it is. I've decided that's what it is. I'm gonna like that's what it is. It's skirmishes. They've closed arenas to bring back skirmishes. In fact, just edit that whole bit we just did and just like edit it. Okay, cut point here. They've closed arenas to bring back skirmishes. It's confirmed.
Okay, so last up, just the other week, they closed arenas to bring back skirmishes. Moving on.
Your question is?
What's a skirmish?
It was basically being able to queue with any random team and practice or try out a comp without the pressure of suffering against your rating.
And I have another question for a follow-up question. What is this PvP that you guys talk about? I know what PvE is, but PvP.
Let me tell you something about PvPP, known as PvP power. That's a whole nother argument for a whole.
That's when your raiders don't agree and you just battle together with each other.
That's right.
Real quick, I want to take a moment and thank one of our other sponsors, Squarespace. You guys have heard about it from us a lot here, but if you guys haven't checked it out, you absolutely need to do so. It is the 21st century. Could be the 22nd. No, I don't think so. I don't really know how that counting system works. I'm going to say it's the 21st. You need a website. You need a website. You need to promote what you're doing. You maybe got video cast. Maybe you're a photographer. You need a website in this day and age, and Squarespace makes it absolutely easy to get started. I'm going to run it through you guys real quick. That fast. We're going to go to their site, squarespace.com. Really easy, really simple, right? You hit get started. What? I get to pick a template. You mean I don't even have to do anything? You've got these awesome pre-built templates for me to choose from? Well, I like Avenue. I'm going to choose Avenue. Not only do they allow you to get an actual live web form, but we're in a mobile age now. It's super important to have a working mobile environment for your website, and they actually integrate and have a mobile version of these same templates that transfer over. Guys, that's revolutionary. That's so good in this day and age for people like myself who have absolutely no ability to program a website whatsoever, but I do all sorts of content that I want to put up online. Maybe I don't want to post it just on YouTube. Maybe I want to build a brand myself. Maybe we're starting free-to-play.tv. Maybe we're building more sites. Squarespace, guys, you got to use it. It's amazing and it's super simple. No coding required. Once you get into these actual websites, it's super simple to just pick, swap, and change some of these different categories. So squarespace.com if you guys haven't checked it out. That is audible. But if you guys head on over and use the promo code GameBreaker6. I believe the deal that we have going on with them right now is you will get 10% off your new account. So head on over to squarespace.com and use GameBreaker6. All right, let's hit up some viewer questions and get the heck out of here because Pat and I want to go down to Irvine and see some Josh.
That's right.
Remember, every week we answer your questions and keep an eye on Facebook. Send them in over at submit@gamebreaker.tv, not submit to GameBreaker TV. We're not that crazy, but submit at GameBreaker.tv. We love video questions, so send those in as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the quote cards, so we're just going to open this up to the whole panel. This comes in from Ryan Campbell. So what is the incentive of playing 25-man mode now that flex rating is in the picture? Goodbye, 25-man. GB Legendary. Trekkie, let's throw this out to you. Do you think that 25-man modes are in danger due to the flex rating system?
No. That's my short answer. I really don't think so.
Why not?
Well, it might encourage or it might discourage some 10-man groups to try to get together for a 25-man rating, but hopefully there's going to be a big enough difficulty difference between flex and normal mode and heroic, so those guilds doing heroic modes, there's no way they're gonna go down to flex because it's just too easy. That's like a 25-man guild now going down to LFR rating. I think we might see less 10-man groups going together that are only doing normal modes and want to go 25-man normal modes. Those are less likely to happen maybe, but otherwise, like, if they're going to implement Thunderforge, like the same sort of system, that's an incentive to keep running 25 months.
Well, and remember, there was something that came out, I think a couple of months ago or something like that, where one of the devs was talking about 25-man raid teams. And 25-man raid teams right now have a tendency to be more in the heroic mindset. And so basically what you're saying is there are a lot fewer 25-man normal raid teams than there are 25-man heroic raid teams. And some people attribute that to the commitment that's involved in setting up these groups and just, you know, going and killing bosses. It's a lot more organized and because you have to be. So I don't think that this is endangering 25-man raiding because the greater percentage is that of the heroic raider, more so than 10-mans anyway. So 25-man is not going anywhere.
It's already dead if you want to see it that way. 25-man normal mode only raiding. Like, people who just want to do that, they've already gone down to 10-man and do that
either that or it's like either that or it's so casual that they're not necessarily making any progress. So, you know, either way, it's not really a great way to see all of the content if you're trying to do 25-man normals, because that seems like there's not a focus and a commitment there like you see with the 25-man heroic teams. And of course, this is from an outsider's perspective because I don't do 25-man raid. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Olivia, what do you think?
I think it's going to, if you genuinely have a group that is a 25-man casual friends and family normal mode only group, then there is a strong possibility that flex raiding could impede your ability to carry on with that style of raiding. Because, you know, with friends and family super casual guilds, and I'm saying that if in there because, and again, I don't do 25s either, but it just seems like that is a very unusual way to play the game. And I'm sure that those guilds exist and that those particular guilds that have that specific style, there's a strong possibility they'll be affected by this. But I think that they're kind of a small minority of the guilds raiding in total.
And would they be opposed to such a difference in their raid size, though?
Well, exactly. Like those friends and family casual guilds are what this content is aimed at. Yeah. Like They are the specific people who this is for. And so if they have a week where we've only got 22, so then they can now raid. They can now, that doesn't happen so much in the hardcore sort of more progression focused guilds, where you're a few people down and you literally can't raid that week. So those guys can step down into flex. And I mean, maybe they will mind, but I think if those guilds have a I don't think that if there's that many of those guilds that this is going to kill 25-man by taking those guilds away, I would be really, really surprised. I think that 25-man is more of a sort of progression focused people.
Right.
All right, next up, Philadrin, or as I like to call him, Phil. Okay. Hey all, he asked here, I guess he says, hey all, given your experience with Siege of Orgrimmar in the PTR, now I know we touched on this a little bit, but how do you guys think the raid is coming along? Do you like the encounters and the environment so far? And do you think that the first 4 bosses seem like they don't fit too well story-wise? Or does clean up Garrosh's mess, then clean up Garrosh work for you guys?
I love that. It's like you come out into the Vale and you're like, what have you done, Tiny Orgrimmar? And just like you've made a complete mess of the Vale, and now we have to. And it's even weirder if you're Alliance, like I am, and you're just like, oh, so the Horde came and they made a mess, and now you get to clean that up. Yeah, you get to clean that up. Right. Not him. You get to clean that up, and then you get to go to Orgrimmar And, you know, all of those packages that you collected, that you totally undermined the Horde by collecting stuff for Vol'jin. It's like all of those packages, then you now get to go kill stuff in Orgrimmar. But after you've cleaned up the veil, that mess that the other faction made.
Right. They keep on making us do all the work. I mean, what is up with that? Why do we have to do all the work? Why can't they help out a little bit? Oh,
why didn't Thrall just kill Death? Oh wait, he did.
Oh yeah.
Trekkie, what do you think of the current raids?
Well, the current fights we've seen are are pretty new mechanics, or like some mechanics we've seen before, and some mechanics we've sort of touched on a bit before, trying like evolving a bit. I think some of the bosses have some healing debuffs, some more healing. I think more healing incentive added as well. We saw that especially on the first boss. There's something to do more than just look at your own raid frames.
Yeah. And
I think if they keep going along those lines, I think we can have a really good tier again, actually, with more new mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah, the mechanics are cool. Like even on the first boss, like having something to heal, like little blue blobs that you heal. That's really cool. It's a really cool mechanic. I'm excited about the content, but not the story. Story bad. Blizzard story bad, guys.
All right, last up here, Rick Schroeder asks, should Flex Raid loot be tradable amongst group members for 2 hours following assignment of said loot?
No.
Why not?
Because it's individual loot. They said that it was going to be individual loot. LFR is individual loot. It's the same thing. You can't trade it with anybody because you don't get to decide who gets it. It's just yours.
But then I think that's why he's saying should it be tradable, even though that is the system. Not will it be tradable, should it be tradable?
No.
Still agree with you. I still agree with you. I just had to clarify.
I like the individual loot system for more casual play. I think that it does a lot for the players. So I like the individual loot system.
Yeah, but the idea is a bit of having a group of like your guild going into the instance, and if every loot is like individual, you don't really actually have to at all go with a group. You will just get the loot if you pug it or whatever. So I can see where that's coming from, but I think that's just gonna then you're gonna have first of all the role is gonna be on your spec or whatever. So if you really want an item, you're gonna bring like 10 other arrested druids. And they're gonna roll on it as well, and if anyone gets it, they trade it to you, and then you're gonna sell it and all this stuff. No, it's just gonna be a mess.
Well, the other thing too is think about how this is going to be used for people. I mean, this is not necessarily flex rating and LFR are not necessarily the end of people's experiences with rating. Hopefully, this is meant to build teams up and help teams along the way, or help people get into rating on teams tackling normals and heroics, and at least it's a start. So why not encourage people to go into team play where they can actually decide who gets the loot however they want to, and I think that is kind of another enticement anyway to get into normal 10 or 25 man rating.
Livia, what do you think?
I think from what Pat was just okay. So the sort of the two sides of it. What Trekkie was saying about how people will game the system, versus what Pat was just saying about to have the sort of team aspect of attributable loot. So I can see Trekkie's argument. Like, you know, people will stack classes, particularly at the hardcore end of the spectrum. People could stack classes to, you know, make sure that if your Shadow Priest needs this particular item, you're going to bring a ton of Shadow Priests, or you're going to bring, presuming that the off-spec looting thing works, which I don't know if we're actually 100% certain of that. But if the off-spec looting works, you're going to bring as many priests as you can fit in a raid with the off-spec to Shadow, so that you can get that gear and then trade it to other people. But on the other hand, flex raiding, it's not for you guys. It's not for you.
Right.
You know, you'll do it and you'll do weird, crazy stuff with it to make sure that you get like all the drops that you want in all the world. But it's not for you. It's for the friends and family people. It's for the people like, you know, my guild, we're kind of priests heavy. We have a total of 4 raid ready priests. We're not going to be able to do that. So why not give us an option? Why not give us a toggle or an option in a pre-made group to select to be able to trade loot?
Well, you would still have that issue. Like, if it depends very much on what you like, what kind of group it's aimed for, and all that stuff. But I think like if there are very heavy populated servers, and there is going to be pugging in Flex, and that's gonna turn into that. Maybe you're a priest and you want this item, this trinket you've been wanted for a while, even if you're not done progressing, and then or it's your alt or whatever. You're gonna ask 2 of your priest friends to come along with you so that they also can roll on it, so that you can have a higher chance to getting your item.
Yeah, but then it's not hurting anyone else like it did with LFR. You're not sort of rolling on the loot that's dropping for other people. It's like if you and 2 of your mates want to go in there and trade loot between each other, then that's fine. But it's not like you're not robbing people of their loot by doing that. Like, that was the problem with the old LFR with that system. Is you were taking it away from other people by maximizing your roll chances. But with this system, you're not.
Yeah, I think Pat was onto something, though, that it gives the raiders who want to go into 10-man raiding a bit of incentive to actually do that, because they can choose who gets what loot instead of just going for, like, doing a dice roll every now and then.
And for that, Trekkie, I have one thing for you. Well, actually, I have a few things for you. Here, let me gather them all up. And here you go. Starburst for you. There you go.
Pat Crane, you can follow him right down there. Oop, that was weirdly orchestrated. Pat Crane, you can follow him right down there at Pat Crane. Check him out over at Convert to Raid.
Yes.
Something tells me they're going to have some interesting stuff happening over there after tomorrow.
Maybe.
Be sure to go check that stuff out and catch him every week right here on Legendary. Trekkie, not squishy. Be sure to follow him at Method Trekkie. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We always appreciate your perspective on high, intense level rating. So we always appreciate having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be back.
And Olivia Grace, you can follow her right down there at Olivia D. Grace. Catch her over on everything, the internet.
Yeah,
she's
everything.
everywhere.
I'm on the internet, you guys.
And you can follow me at Mike Schaffnitz. Be sure to follow me at Mike Schaffnitz. Here you go, Mike. Thanks, Pat. Thanks. Be sure to follow me at Mike Schaffnitz. Be sure to follow all of GameBreaker.tv's awesome content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Legendary. Be sure to tune in if you guys haven't watched live. We do this show every Thursday at 8 p.m. PDT. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next week. I'm getting attacked by Starburst.